My name is Sherrick, and this is Amelia.
And Sherrick, what are you doing?
It's a podcast about everything and nothing. That's right, it's back! I made it again! It's only been gone a couple episodes. You missed it. You know you did. No, you probably did.
Probably nobody even noticed, but I missed it.
I know you noticed because I brought it up like probably off mic and was like, I feel like I say that, and then we were pigeonholing it or something. I may have said that on mic. I probably did. See episode 2 or 3 where I probably brought it up. I don't know. But if you are starting with, I may suggest you back it up a little bit, maybe like 2 episodes or so, and like go back and, I mean, all of our episodes are going to be great, but like really listen to the industrial strength sized episode that we did with our good friend Amber about reality dating shows. Because who doggy did I not realize how much I actually enjoyed watching some of these shows, and my search for the DVDs of Blind Date is on. So I have activated the search for those Blind Date DVDs. It is in progress.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see each other soon so we can watch them together.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. This isn't like a podcast in which, well, there's maybe a couple of references that we make that you may not get if you don't start at episode 1. But for real, start with episode 1. We think you'll like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
think all of our episodes are good. But yeah, start from the beginning. We're not that far in. You can do it.
Mm-hmm. From here. Now, if it was like episode 36 and we're like, start from the beginning, I could see why you'd be like, I'm going to unsubscribe from this podcast.
Yeah,
but we're not going to do that to you.
Yes.
But there may be some fun goofs that you might connect with. So, give us a shot and go back. But
that sounds like a good description of us. Fun goofs.
Fun goofs. We are fun goofs making fun goofs.
Yep.
But I guess let's do our tradition and let's find out, Amelia, how your week was.
Yeah. So my week was okay. Things at work have been a little bit crazy for a variety of reasons. Some due to the state of the world and some due to just the state of the office and some interpersonal conflicts that people are having, which as the HR person means I'm involved. And I'm also an empath, so I take on the emotions around me. So when people are tense and anxious and fighting with each other, that makes me tense and anxious. So yeah, I've been trying really hard to leave work at work and come home and not think about it, but it's sometimes hard. So yeah, but I was really looking forward to this weekend because I had like no plans other than like recording with you, which I can do from my house and not leave the house. And I was really excited for that. And then I realized that I was out of coffee grounds, which I need to live. So, so I was like, I guess I have to go to the store. I have to leave my house. And I really didn't want to. I really hate going to the store just for one thing. It feels like just feels like a lot of work just for one thing. Yes, I am kind of lazy, sorry. And so I discovered that I could order Dunkin' on Postmates because they had bags of coffee on the menu, not just like cups of coffee. And so, yeah, I ordered 2 bags of coffee and some donuts and had Postmates deliver it to me today. So that is my lazy story of the day.
I love it.
How has your week been, Sherrick?
My week, it has been a month somehow because, as we have talked, the Animal Crossing watch is in full affront. By the time you are listening to this episode, I will already be on the joys of my deserted island. So don't call me ever again. But currently it is still a little bit of ways away, and it seems like the closer we get to it, the longer it is taking to get there.
Of
Um,
course.
but that that's how things go. But I have found a solution to my streaming problem, in which, for the nerds out there, I stopped streaming for a bit because I was having issues on the audio side. So obviously I could hear everything, but when it was going through the magic of the internet and supposed to show up on twitch.tv/ablacksparrow, there's my plug, you would hear nothing. And I was like, well, that's no way to stream. Like, I've heard of people like playing without their commentary, but like having no commentary and no game audio, it just seems a bit stupid. So I was like, well, let me just stop and, reassess my life and do other things while I figure it out. And that's my that is my cross to bear for trying to stream on a Mac computer, but it is what it is. But through some research and some ingenuity and about $100 and something bucks, I was able to fix the problem. So I'm doing that again and playing MLB 20 the show, which I am displeased about the cover athlete, but otherwise pleased with the game. But yeah, so that seems like a good summary of my week, and also a great segue into our topic for today.
Yes.
Were unable to decipher the title. We're talking about video games today.
Yes.
And it is my great joy. We'll probably cover video games again, but like not the way we're going to do it today, obviously. So we're going to just cover video games that we've experienced. And when I first pitched this topic to Amelia, she was like, so Mario Kart? And I was like, well, I would love to talk about Mario Kart for sure, but I would also like to cover like stuff that like got us into video games, probably more specifically me, because I feel like the two of us, I am the more game oriented person. But we're going to kind of start from the beginning and go up until, as far as we can go, I guess. So I want to open the floor with you, Amelia, because I feel like as we get further into the episode, it's going to be me talking way more. So like, I specifically wanted to start with like the educational games that I know were around like private schools in, you guessed it, the 90s.
Yep.
We keep trying to like get away from it, and for the most part we've succeeded in a couple of episodes, but we're gonna bring it in today. Yes. And we won't spend too much time there, but like if you grew up in the 90s, there's a great chance you had some sort of Apple II computer or some other type of computer that was able to play some game that teachers thought would make you learn in a way that was satisfactory. Mm-hmm. So let's start with you, Amelia. Tell me about your game experience in your youth.
In my youth, yes. So I would say that I have a lot more computer game experience than video game experience, but I have some of both. But yeah, like I very distinctly remember, like in elementary school, going to the computer lab in the library with all of the Mac computers, the like first Mac computers, and playing like math games and word games, and I don't even remember a whole lot about them. I just remember playing them. But of course, the best days of elementary school were going to the computer lab in the library and playing Oregon Trail.
Yes, I knew you would bring it up.
Yes. Because it is everything. And I remember a few years ago, I found a website where somebody had put it on there so that you could still play it. I don't know if that website still exists, but because I haven't tried to look for it in a really long time, but there was a period there where I was like playing it a lot a couple of years ago. And it's so funny to play it now as an adult because like there's not really a lot to it. It's a lot of hitting the space bar so that your wagon continues on the trail. Like that's a lot of what it is. And then occasionally it's stopping and trying to get across a river or buying more food or hunting or but it's mainly a lot of just like going down the trail and someone getting sick and dying. Like that's
getting dysentery or bitten by a snake.
Yep,
breaking their arm.
So I think it's so funny how much 90s kids love this game, because like there's not really a lot to it. But maybe that's why it's simple.
It's beauty in the simplicity.
Yes. Yes.
So I too also grew up with Oregon Trail, but I'm trying to think. So I started, as far as school is concerned, I started with Word and Math Blaster. So those were
Mm.
a couple, or excuse me, Word Number Munchers, Word Munchers. There was a Math Blaster game, but like those two were like the beginning. Those are like the ones that I can remember starting with,
Mm-hmm.
because we actually had like a computer lab class.
Ooh.
So, I remember it was mostly like, games that were doing that kind of thing, or like I can't remember what it's called, but it was like a typing game where it would like it wasn't like a game in the sense of like, like Mario teaches typing. It was like a game in which it would give you like sentences and you had to type them correctly as quickly as possible,
Mm-hmm.
making any errors. It was measuring your words per minute. And so like we would all be sitting in computer lab, like it was in like a, semicircle kind of thing with all at a computer, being like shouting out like what WPM we got, and like, I got 76 words per minute.
Yeah.
Oh, I only 40 words per minute, like
Mm-hmm.
not realizing like we would have to like put this on a resume to like, 10 and a half years later, 10 to 15 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was playing Number Munchers, I was able to answer the questions at a clip of 76 words per minute, like whatever. But there were a couple that like if you got through like your, for lack of better words, like your homework or your work during computer lab, there were a couple of games that you could play
Yep.
to like finish out the class that were less so. Like there was like a brick breaker game kind of thing. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking
Oh
about? Like
yeah.
on, but like on the top row, there's like bricks that you would use to break, and you would
Mm-hmm.
get power ups, like multi ball stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oregon Trail was one of those games, but there was a game that I fell in love with, I want to say in like fourth or fifth grade, that for probably close to 22 years, I could not remember the name of. And it
Ooh.
was like, it was the stopping point from finding it again.
Oh,
Like
uh-huh.
I literally could not remember what it was called. And so I'd be like, oh, it's a game where you do this. And it'd be like, did you mean this? And I'm like, no, that's not it. Or it's a
Mm-hmm.
game where you otter in it, and they were like, oh, do you mean like fucking Ice Age 2? And I'm like, no, it wasn't a PlayStation 2 game, that didn't exist then. Like, and then I'd be like, game with otter in it 1991, nothing. Game with otter in it 1992, nothing. Shit. I can't find it. But I do know the name of the game now, and it is called Odell Lake.
Oh.
um so it was a game that like was, I assume it was made by MECC. I can't remember what that stands for, and I did not look it up because I wanted to be organic and not pretend like I knew what it stood for.
Uh-huh.
But let me see. They're the same people who made Oregon Trail.
Okay.
Actually, I will look it up now if I can find it. Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium. That is what it is. So it is a Minnesota product.
Ooh.
If you did not know, Oregon Trail is a game by the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium. So that's what MEC stands for.
Nice.
There you go. The more you know. But so it's made by the same people who made Oregon Trail, and you started as like this fish, and you would get like sound effects, which were very simplistic and like blocky at the time, or some sort of visual cue as to what was approaching you in the lake. And you would have to decide if you were going to try and eat the opposition, if you were going to try to ignore it, or you're going to try and run away. And like, obviously the goal is to like continue to thrive in said lake. So eating a fish would, and this is obviously not how it works in real life, but like eating a fish that was smaller than you would promote you to a larger fish. And so you would want to be like the biggest fish in the lake or whatever, but there were certain, shall we say, enemies, for lack of better words, that you like straight up couldn't do anything with. So like, if like, obviously fish can't do shit against otters unless it's like a piranha, in which case you need to be a school of piranha, logistics being what they are anyway. But like, if you were like a giant fish and you were like up near the top of the lake and an otter approached, you would want to run, because like obviously the otter will fucking eat you if you try to attack it or ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you would hear like this like shrill ass sound, but you wouldn't see anything, and you're like, oh fuck, that's gonna be an osprey or an eagle like trying to like, grab you out of the top of the lake, so you'd want to dive down or whatever. And then you'd see like these fucking talons just rip into the lake and grab nothing, and you're like, oh, that was fucking close. But I don't know what it was about this game. Maybe it's the beauty and the simplicity, because it was even more simplistic than Oregon Trail was. But like, I just loved it, and I'm fairly sure that there are websites that do preserve some of those games that Mech made like very early on. I'm almost positive you could probably find a way to play the original Oregon Trail and the Odell Lake and things like that. As an aside, there are so many like spin-offs of the Oregon Trail. Like, I remember, not even like recently, but like when the iPhone first came out, there was like a mobile version of the Oregon Trail, which played nothing like the original.
Right,
so like
yeah.
when I would download it on my original iPod, not like the classic, like the iPod Touch or whatever, it's like, this fucking sucks. This isn't the Oregon Trail.
Right, they made it
Who
more
stole the
complicated, and it was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, there was definitely a version of it that like had like microtransactions, and it was basically kind of like a farming simulator, sort of. But it was like, this isn't. It was like the Oregon Trail, like with some sort of weird subtitle, and I was like, nah, you just trying to capitalize off the name. I'll shine. No thanks.
Yep.
But those were like my school experiences. But I had a Commodore 64. Was our very first computer, and it introduced me into like a couple of text-based games. Like, there's a couple there that I played, and of course I was like, I'm trying to remember, maybe like 7 or 8. So I did absolutely shit all against the game, being like, you are trapped in a dungeon, you can see a candle in front of you, you can go north or south, and me being like, I don't even fucking know where north and south is in relation to me, so I'm not going to do well in this game. But yeah, stuff like that. And they did have like some basic games that were graphically based, but that's kind of where I started on that front.
Yeah, my dad bought an Apple II computer before I was born to write his PhD dissertation on, and so that was my first computer growing up. I don't remember playing games on that, but I do remember, like, yeah, always having a computer my whole childhood, which is not necessarily true for everybody our age, but
Right.
yeah, and I remember getting really into computer games early on. I think, yeah, probably because of Oregon Trail and stuff like that at school. But like, I had this Where in Time or Where something, it had to do with time travel, is Carmen Sandiego. And
Yes.
fucking
Yes.
Carmen Sandiego is the fucking best. It was such a good game, and to this day, I still have never finished the game.
There isn't. It's not the Where in Time one, but the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. There is I believe it's a free to play app called, I want to say, like, it's called like San Diego Inc. or something like that. That is essentially just like a port of that game.
Nice.
And I have it on my phone, so highly recommend that. They have not obviously paid us to promote that, but if you want to go back and try and tackle one of those original Carmen Sandiego-esque games, I believe San Diego Inc. is where you're going to want to go for that.
Yeah. Carmen Sandiego was like such a big deal when we were kids too, because there was the show on PBS about it, and so good. It's all just so good.
Miss Thigpen, I wanted to be on that. That was another show I wanted to be on so bad. We should talk like the game shows of our, like, not I'm not talking about like Price is Right. I want to talk about like Nick Arcade and
yeah, totally.
Legends of the Hidden Temples,
yes,
Guts, all that stuff. We'll hit that another episode,
yes.
But of course that's more 90s content, so maybe we'll need to space it out.
Yeah, just
but that's not here.
Podcast.
Two quick asides. Number one, how the fuck is a company called the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium going to have their fucking headquarters? Oh, never mind. I misread that. I thought it was Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn, in New York, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
No.
It's Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. I was gonna get real upset.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, and I like that it's the Minnesota legislature founded it and the state owned it.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
hilarious to me.
That's wild to me. That is not a thing that would happen today. Like you would not think of like just throwing it out there, like the state of Kansas being like, we're gonna own a fucking video game publishing company for
Right.
kids, like for kids video games more specifically. But that's so wild, and I miss it. It's sad that they ceased operations. They right before the turn of the
Yep.
century, so they're unfortunately no longer around. But and the other thing was I was going to bring up because you said that your dad wrote his dissertation. Was it? Is that
Yeah.
what you said,
Yep.
or am I just making that? Okay, on an Apple II. Like I was just trying to imagine the word processor that would be available on an Apple II,
Right.
and just having to stare at
Right.
like that screen for so
Yep.
long.
Yeah.
He is.
1983.
I have way more respect for him than I did before, which is not to say that I didn't have any, but oh man, that's super, super
Right.
impressive.
Yeah.
So hats off to you, Pop,
Yeah,
on
because
that
it's,
one.
I mean, a dissertation is like hundreds of pages. So,
Whew, yeah.
yep.
For those who don't know, I'm glad to say in my life I have never had to write such a thing. I've never had to write a
Yeah.
dissertation. But
Yeah. I mean, my thesis was like, my master's thesis was like 35 pages, 40 pages,
mm-hmm.
something like that. And that was hard enough.
uh, I think the trying to think because I had to write a paper in a class that I don't remember the name of, but it was freshman year, and I had to write. I think it was like a 10-page paper, and I had to do a 10-page paper on Sarah Silverman
Oh, wow.
because we were given like a handful of comics to pick, and of course, like you know, I was not one of the first people to pick, so naturally I had to, get a little creative because, Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and people had gotten taken off the board already. So I was like, well, I fucking know about Sarah Silverman. And it was right around the time Jesus's Magic had come out. And that was, at the time, one of my more favorite stand-ups. So I was like, I got this. And I just barely made it. It was like 11 and 1/4 pages.
Nice. That's what you got to do. It's 2 lines onto the next page.
Mm-hmm, basically. But yeah, so let's kind of get away just a little bit from computers and into like consoles, because I want to say the only consoles that were available like at the time we were coherent enough to like play
Mm-hmm.
them would have been your original Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your NES/SNES or Nintendo Entertainment System or Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and then like your Sega-esque games, and then you may have like, I mean, if somebody owned like an Atari system, then But did you like? I guess I should ask what like consoles, quote unquote, did you like own to start
Yeah,
out
so
with,
the
or
only
did you, or
the
were
only
they
video game console that I should say I've only ever owned 2 video game consoles in my whole life.
okay?
One Super Nintendo and I have a Nintendo Wii. I actually still have the
Okay.
Super Nintendo and it does still work. So,
Yeah, I was gonna
um,
say, I was gonna bring that up. I was like, both consoles still
still
work,
exist.
and you still own.
Yes, exactly. And I remember playing Nintendo, like the original Nintendo, like at daycare and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then I remember getting Super Nintendo. Um, and I remember my parents were like, "Well, we'll buy you a video game console. Do you want the Super Nintendo or the what was the next one? That Nintendo 64 had just come
Mm-hmm.
out." And I was like, "I've never played Nintendo 64. I've played Super Nintendo and I like it, so I want that one." And I also
Yeah.
like, yeah, I had, as video games got more and more complex and they became more like you could walk anywhere instead of like Mario
Mm-hmm.
just walking across the screen. I was like, this is too
Yeah.
complicated. I can't handle this.
Then you'll pull the chute and it's like, I'm
Yep.
out. See you later.
I was like, oh man, it's like 3D now. Never mind. But yeah, so I had Super Nintendo, like Super Mario Brothers and Mario Kart and The Lion King, which is fucking hard as shit. I
Mm-hmm.
never made it past like level 2. Um,
Same.
and Donkey Kong, which I just remembered, and I fucking love Donkey Kong. Um, I never got very far in most games. So yeah, I was never very good at them, but I did enjoy some Super Nintendo from time to time. Um,
Now, is that your original one, or have you like gone and got like picked another one up?
no, that's
The Super
yeah,
Nintendo.
that's the OG for me. Yeah.
Wow,
Um,
that's very impressive.
yeah. So, yeah, and I had a friend who had a Sega and we would play Sonic all the time. And I remember I had another friend who eventually got the original PlayStation and we would play Crash
Okay.
Bandicoot all the time. Um,
I'm only laughing because like almost every game that you have mentioned so far has been re-released in some
right,
like
right,
some form. I'm not saying like they up. I'm not saying that they like updated the graphics,
right.
but like I vaguely recall, like I want to say if not earlier this year, but late last year, uh, they re-released like the original Lion King and Aladdin
Uh-huh,
games, like original graphics and all, but they like fixed a couple of glitches, but they like were just like, here
uh-huh,
you go. You liked this game once upon a
right.
time, like almost exactly how
Yep,
it was.
yep,
Here it is.
yep,
Like,
yep. Yeah. I mean, again, there's like there are a lot of people who really love gaming and buy all of these games and play them to the end. But then there's some of
mm-hmm.
us who like just want a real simple game.
Yeah,
So
no,
and
for
nostalgia,
sure.
of course. Um, but yeah, I remember I remember playing uh, Mario Kart just like so much, so much all the time. And I still love Mario Kart to this day. Yep.
I have never played the original Mario Kart, not ever.
What?
It's true.
Wow.
It is true.
Is
The only Mario Kart I've ever played was the one on the
okay.
N64.
Well, we need to change that when you are here because that is a
I am
crime.
down for it.
That is a crime.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, so from the so I owned a Game Boy, an original Game Boy, which my maternal grandparents, or excuse me, not maternal, fraternal grandparents got
Oh,
for
okay.
me as like a because like they lived in Kentucky, and since my dad split, they were like, well, we didn't split. We want to get to know this like child that is uh technically ours, like in a sense, like not directly, but
Mm-hmm.
like this is our family. I want to get, so like they would like buy me stuff to try and like, build a
Mm-hmm.
connection. So they bought me like the original Game Boy, which unfortunately, if I do still have it, I don't know where it is. But it had like its own case, and I remember having Tetris, which I was okay at. Which and it's a game that you like cannot beat, like you literally cannot
Mm-hmm.
beat it, at least as far as
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware. And then I had Super Mario Brothers World 2, the 6 golden coins, which I did not beat either because they were it just at a certain point I just like either lost interest or and then I'd go back and tackle it and I was like, well, this is too hard,
Mm-hmm.
like I
Mm-hmm.
can't beat it. Well, I mean, I'm talking about like I was like 6, 7 years old trying to
Mm-hmm.
play this game. So I had that, and then I remember falling in love with Pokemon as an anime, and then them being like, "Hey, they're gonna make Pokemon as a game," and I was like, "Well, how are they gonna do that?" Because while I was somewhat into like enjoying playing video games, I had no awareness of like the
Mm-hmm.
genres. You know what I mean? Like if you would have asked like 6-year-old Sherrick like what a platformer is, I'd have been like, I don't know. As I'm holding a Game Boy playing
Mm-hmm.
Mario, like so like not realizing that it would just be like your standard turn-based RPG. I was like, well, there was a kid like in my mom's neighborhood that was like, I got it and I'll bring it over. And I was like, I'm so excited to fucking play this Pokemon game. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. And of course, he like of course, did not
Of
ever
course
bring it
not.
over because he was
Yep.
probably lying. Uh, but when I like first, of course, got my hands on it, I was just like gone, dead to the world, just gone. Um, and it was Pokemon Red because my brother got Pokemon Blue. And when he got bored of it, I started trading his Pokemon into my game, which is an ongoing theme with any game that had like two versions of it, really, with me and my brother. But that was a thing. Like you, the Carmen Sandiego series was a big thing for me. But I didn't own like a gaming console outside of like I think my Guardian had like one of those like plug-in things for Pong. You could
Oh,
play it on
uh-huh.
the TV. I
Hmm.
can't remember what thing that was, but we had that. So I did play like that's probably one of the first video games I played, but um, I didn't actually own a console until the N64, which my grandma
Ooh.
got for me. So like I had friends that owned the SNES and would bring it over when I was like staying with my mom, or like one of the people that in our neighborhood had it when I was not staying with my mom. But like I could only like play it there, but I didn't own it. So I played like Super Mario Brothers
Hmm.
2 and like the original Super Mario Brothers was a thing that me, my brother, and my sisters would like play because it was essentially like a
Hmm.
versus mode. So you'd be like in this like dingy, like like sewer-isk area, and like classic Mario enemies would come out at you, like your Koopas and Goombas and like spiky shells and all that stuff, and you would like try and step on Luigi's head or Mario's head, depending on who you were. I don't need to explain it. The people that like video games will know, and you can definitely ask me if you actually do want me to explain it.
Hmm.
So there you go. But I played that, but my grandmother ended up getting a N64 for us. Like that was like a either birthday gift or for me and my brother to share, or a Christmas gift for me and my brother to share, which we sort of did. Um, I'm trying to remember what games that we got for that. I remember trying to play um, Mario
Hmm.
64 on that, but not being nearly good enough
Hmm.
to beat it. We definitely did not even get close to beating it. Because we would just goof around on it and have fun, but like the core concept of the game more or less
Hmm.
eluded us. But then GoldenEye came
Ooh.
around, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with James Bond GoldenEye,
I
which
remember
was
that
like
game being a big
it
deal.
it changed, like pun intended, it changed the game for us because we were used to like, okay, well, I'm gonna try this level, I failed, pass the
Uh-huh.
controller kind of thing. But it was straight up a game where like you could all play together. And it was like, wait, I don't have to pass the controller. We can play
Uh-huh.
together. And like my brother and I had these two friends whose names unfortunately escape me now. They were twins. And they would come up and they would play GoldenEye with us, and it was just all versus mode. So we would just like, use like smart bombs or proximity mines and stuff like that, or like rocket launchers, and just try and like, blow each other up. It was like fantastic. So yeah, if I could find a working NES, I'd still have a copy of GoldenEye somewhere in my house. But my original N64, no, unfortunately, is no longer working. I own it, but it is not. It won't power on. Um, so there's that. Let me think here.
I did remember,
There's
oh,
also. Oh, go
I
ahead.
did
Go ahead.
remember as you were
No,
talking
go ahead.
about this that I did have a Game Boy Color. And by that I
Okay.
mean
Yeah.
not the kind that the games were in color, but that the console itself, the handheld thing, was a color. So
Yes.
it was like skinnier than
Yes.
the original, and mine was green. Um, and I would
Okay.
play. I don't even know what I would play on that. I think I still have it. I should see if it works. I remember playing Paperboy on that.
Oh yeah.
Paperboy was so ridiculous.
So I didn't. We'll talk about that in a second. I didn't own Paperboy as like a Game Boy game. I owned it as one of those like
Oh, okay.
handheld, like the Tiger
Yes, yes.
Electronic ones. I owned it
Gotcha.
as
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell the lovely
Oh my
people
God,
about Paperboy
Paperboy.
as
Yes.
you understand
So
it.
Paperboy was you were a paperboy on a bicycle, and you had to throw newspapers at houses, and if you got them in the mailbox, you like got more points. And it had to do with like aim, not even aim so much as just like hitting the button in the right spot. um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, timing.
Timing.
I don't remember a ton about it. um I just remember that.
I remember not
Yeah,
being
I
very good at
remember
it.
not being that great at it. um and there would be like dogs and stuff that would run after you, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty simplistic as well, but um yeah, I remember having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I totally see. Like, I tried to make a list of like the consoles and stuff
Uh-huh.
that I went through, and like even just talking through it now, like I'm remembering like all the different Tiger
Oh
Electronic
yeah.
handheld
I
games that
never
I
had
owned,
any of those, but
and
I
then
knew a lot of people who did. And
I had one for Paperboy. I had one for Aladdin. I had a Power Rangers one. I even for a very very short period of time had a Power Rangers one that had a card reader on the top, so you would purchase like collectible cards and they had a scan thing and you would scan it through and it would put that particular like so if it was like the Green Ranger or whatever, you would scan it through and then the Green Ranger would be on the fucking screen and it was like, what is happening right now? But I'm trying to think. Let's see. Oh, so I guess even though I'm rambling at this point, we can we can. There are two games that I wanted to bring up that were computer
yes.
games that like because they had such a huge impact on me. They were Roller Coaster
Oh,
Tycoon 3 and
yes.
Sim Golf. Believe it or not. So like there was a pretty decent period of time in which like I would play like some computer games. Like I played StarCraft, but really for the story. Like I never really played online because everyone online would wipe the floor with me as a real time
Mm-hmm.
strategy game. But um, I literally had like a summer where I would wake up at like 1 in the afternoon, trudge over to the computer, fire up Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. There was an app that came out. It was obviously not called an app then. It was called a computer program called Click Radio, which is basically what Spotify
Oh,
is
uh-huh.
now. But it was like way ahead of its time, obviously, because I was like, wait a second, I can listen to like music that I don't own in this
Uh-huh.
program. Yes, please. And it would be like I would sit in our like little like we had a director's chair for like the computer that like it was in a you know cabinet. So the computer cabinet, and I would sit in the director's chair and play Roller Coaster Tycoon for literally almost
Oh my
24
God.
hours. Like that is actually no, I'm lying. I would play it for 26 hours because I would eclipse the previous day. So I'd be like 1 p.m. on a Saturday. I'd be playing it until about like maybe like
Oh
3
my
p.m.
God.
on Sunday, and then I would finally like just fucking pass out and be like, I'm gonna go to sleep. And I'd wake up like 3 hours later and just like try and be a human being. Um, which obviously worked out way well for younger Sherrick
Yeah.
than current
Oof.
Sherrick.
That
Uh,
sounds rough.
but that one and Sim Golf, I'm not a golf fan by any stretch of the
Mm-hmm.
imagination. Like you will not catch me watching the
Mm-hmm.
PGA. You ask me, I could be like, I don't know. I heard Tiger Woods is back. I guess like he was he was really good, and then he screwed up his personal life, and then he wasn't good, and then he retired, and then he's back, and now he's like decent for a bit, I guess. But like for whatever reason, that game was just it's so addictive. It would let you build your own golf course and then you could play it and you would play like fake celebrities in the game to like get more stuff going on. So at one point your golf resort could have like a small marina, it could have like its own little private airport, and you would like, you know, get these people talking about your golf course by making a good, 18-hole course, and B, like beating them on
Mm-hmm.
said 18-hole course. So you had to make it good enough that people would be entertained, but also like you had to know it well enough that you could, beat them, and you could create your own characters for it and stuff, and give them their own perks and customize them and that kind of stuff. But I lost many hours to that game.
Yeah, I similarly had like two pretty big computer game addictions at that time,
Hmm.
and mine were the original Roller Coaster Tycoon, um, and the original Sims. Um,
Oh man, I remember falling in love with The Sims.
yeah,
Holy shit.
like
Keep
you,
going.
like
Keep
you
going.
talking about playing for over a whole day. I never did that, but I
Hmm.
remember staying home sick from school one day and playing The Sims the entire day. And I remember getting up to go to bed at that night and just being so sore because I'd been sitting in that computer
Hmm.
chair all day playing.
Ergonomics
Yeah.
were not a thing.
And like I this may have been the period of time where we didn't really have a computer chair, and so it might have just been like a wooden kitchen chair.
Yep.
I do not
Yep.
remember for
Sounds
sure.
about right to
Yeah.
me.
So yeah, I remember doing that, and then I remember I continued to get The Sims for a while. So like I had the original one, and then I think I had
Hmm.
Sims 2, maybe Sims 3. I don't know. But I remember still playing The Sims into college, and I remember coming home for J term. We had all of Christmas break and then all of January off at St. Kate's. And so I
Okay.
remember coming home for one J term and bringing my bringing I had um a Mac desktop, but at the time it was just
Hmm.
I don't know, I don't even know what Mac desktops are like anymore, but it was like just one thing. Um uh
Yeah,
it's still like
that's
that
what it
today.
is now. It's just a huge
Yeah.
screen.
So I remember bringing
Yeah.
that home with me because again, it was 6 weeks basically on break,
Hmm.
and I remember setting that up on my desk in my bedroom and setting up my old laptop because I had an old laptop at that time as well on a
Hmm.
like TV tray next to my desk, and that laptop was connected to dial-up internet where
Yes.
I played where or sorry, where I was on um AOL Instant Messenger. Um and I would talk to my school friends and I would play The Sims on my desktop. And I had a really
Yes.
great
Oh,
swivel chair that
so
I would
good.
just like, yeah, just turn back and forth between so that I could be playing and talking to my friends and back and forth.
I wanna I wanna earmark a mini-sode where we talk about AOL Instant
Yes,
Messenger.
yes. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, so
okay.
The Sims, oh my God. The Sims is like just such a like seminal part of my life. Um,
Hmm. Uh, Before you go
yeah,
too deep into it, because I feel like this is a good place for us to like to
yes.
commiserate on. I just want to throw out some. I forgot to talk about the
Okay.
Yukon Trail, which came out the year before
Ooh.
the Oregon Trail, and it was one of my also favorite games. I'm just gonna like speed through these. It was you would start in like Seattle or Washington or something, and you were trying to look, like go up to the Yukon and like Canada for gold. It was really fun. Nowadays, like I think the only one of the only few games that I've like completed was one of the first games I owned for PlayStation 2, which was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is a fucking masterpiece. Holy shit, is that game amazing? And then now I really just play like mostly sports games, Sims here and there, and visual novels. Um, I'll play like some shooters here and there. Like I was in a Destiny for a time before Activision and Bungie fucked it up heavily. But I like shooters here and there, but I'm not really
Hmm.
heavy into them. But that is kind of where I wanted to carry that because for the next like 15 minutes, I want to talk about the motherfucking Sims.
Yes.
So, real quick for me, I have owned every iteration of the
Okay.
game. Not every expansion pack, but I've owned Sims 1
Okay.
through 4. My friend Steven Wimmer introduced me to it because he's like, "Hey, come over, dude. I got this game I want to play." And it's like you can you can like have a family and like make them do shit. And I was like, "This sounds what? This sounds boring." And I went over. I was watching him play. And I was like
Uh-huh.
enraptured. Like when he was like, "Yeah, man. So I got to go. Like, me and my mom are doing this thing. So I'll catch you later." And I was like, I just want to go back to Steven's house and play the fucking Sims. It was so great. So like any chance I could get, I wanted to go over there and play with him. And then I somehow convinced my guardian to let me have it. And I was like, no longer need you, Steven. I've got it for myself. But yeah, I just remember being absolutely hooked. And still, I mean, I haven't played it in a long time, but like if they were tomorrow to be like Sims 5 2020, I'd
Yep.
be like,
Yep. Yep. Same. Yeah, I had, like I said, I know I had the first one because I remember when it came out, my
Mhm.
dad was like, because we had played Sim City and other sim-based games. I had one called Sim Tower, I think, for a while. Um,
Yes,
but
Sim Tower's
so
good.
so I
I like
remember
that a
when
lot.
the original Sims came out, and so I got it like right away, and I just remember being like totally into it. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I got another one later. I do have Sims 4 now. I haven't played in probably, I don't know, a couple of
Hmm.
years, um but I think I had one in between there. I just don't remember. But oh my God, it just, to me it was like an extension of playing Barbies. Cause like I
I could see
would
that. Yeah.
um I would play Barbies a lot as an elementary school child. And the story for me was always the same. It was like always like Barbie, or actually I played with Skipper more, but um Skipper had a boyfriend, and like I don't know, it'd basically just be like the plot of a romantic comedy, like just over and over and over again.
Okay.
And I feel like that's what I do on The Sims too. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, I have a character and I make another character that I'm like gonna make them fall in love and get married.
Yeah.
um, but of course, everybody does the nefarious things like putting their sim in a pool and taking the ladder out.
I only did that maybe
Yeah.
once or twice
Uh-huh.
upon
I think
memory, I
like I don't
think.
remember doing it a lot.
But
I just remember
yeah, I
being
did it.
like, I want to know what happens when a sim dies. Like, how does it? What happens?
Hmm.
Yep.
The Grim Reaper shows up, and
Yep.
you're just like, oh
Yep.
shit.
And then there's like an
Uh,
urn if it's inside, or a gravestone if it's outside. It just, that's what your sim becomes. Yeah, I remember doing
hmm.
that. And
Yep,
then
they just
sometimes they would
are there.
haunt you, I think. Um
Yep.
yeah, I, oh my gosh. I remember just loving that game so much.
I Yep. I was a huge, like I said, you heard the story about how I fell in love with it. So I want to say every single expansion pack that came out for The Sims 1 I was downloading
Mm-hmm.
mods for the game. Like I was just
Mm-hmm.
like straight up into it. Sims 2 is pretty
Mm-hmm.
much the same thing. Because there was an expansion pack called Making Magic where your Sims could be like, they could create potions and like become wizards and
Mm-hmm.
witches and shit like that. They would become, you could have them become vampires, all sorts of clothing sets. As it kind of fell more into EA's hands and away from Maxis with like the Sims 3, then I didn't own every single
Mm-hmm.
Sims 3 expansion pack, but like I remember being really, really disappointed because as a Mac owner, they weren't coming out at the
Yep.
same clip as they
Yep.
were for PC people. So like PC people would get it and then you'd have to wait and pray that, like, I can't remember the name of the company, but they would do like their own like Mac port for the game. And it's like if you were lucky, they would do it, but they wouldn't do it for every single thing. And if they did do it, it was like 6 months to a year later in some cases, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like heartbreaking. So then when The Sims 4 came around, which doing a quick Google search on that was 6 years ago. They had it for both the Windows and Mac, and I was like, well, they have made
Yes.
clearly the
Yes.
right choice here.
I remember being really excited about that.
The original Sims came out
Mm-hmm.
in 2000. They released Sims
Mm-hmm.
2 4 years later. They released Sims 3 5 years after that. So we're going from 2000 to 2004,
Mm-hmm.
2004 to 2009, and then 2009 to 2014. So we might
I
be about
know.
due for a five. Um, but yeah, so So my follow-up question for you here then is, which version was your
Oh,
favorite and
oh,
why?
that's a good question. Um, I don't know. I think I liked all of them. Like I said, I don't think looking at that and what the dates that you just gave, I'm pretty sure I had Sims 2, but I don't think I ever got Sims 3. Um, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember there were some good expansion packs in Sims 2, so I remember liking that. Um, let's see. But yeah, I don't know. I think I like Sims 4 because it's like it's just got more stuff. Um, yeah, I never had the magic one. I remember having mm, I remember there was like a Sims University or something where you could be like a
Yes.
young adult, quote unquote. But yeah, I mean, like I just it's interesting because I remember playing The Sims in college, and I remember Steph being really into like making the houses and like designing the houses and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I hated that part. I just like was like, put me in a pre-built house. Like, I'll maybe switch out some of the furniture and stuff, but like, does especially designing like a layout for a house, I was terrible at that. Um, but
Yeah, me too.
then she'd do that and be like, "Okay, I'm done." Like that was what she wanted to do, and
Yeah,
it
and you
was
were just like,
perfect. You
wonderful.
design it, I'll play it. um,
Mm-hmm. It's a
yes,
perfect
yes.
symbiotic relationship.
And I was never very good at creating people either until I started creating people based on fictional characters that I liked.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
let's see. I've had like a world full of Veronica Mars characters. I've had a world full of Riverdale characters. I've had, I don't know, I can't even remember. I think Harry Potter at one point I had characters based on Harry Potter characters. Uh,
I want to do a
Oh my
stream
God.
where you and I
We
play The Sims
should.
4.
That'd be so fun.
For us.
Oh, I
Maybe not for
know a
y'all,
few people who
but
would
definitely
totally
for
watch
us.
us do that. Yes.
I love it. If you were to ask me, it'd be I want to say Sims 3 is
Okay.
probably my favorite iteration of The Sims. I do really, 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 really appreciate and like the
Uh-huh.
character creator in Sims 4. But if they could like reverse port that into Sims 3, I probably would like
Okay.
jump on that in that regard. Because I do like that, like, because one of my gripes with video games in general, and then I'll get on the fucking soapbox for a minute, is that there's way too much same
Okay.
face in video games. Like, there's a popular series called Shin Megami Tensei Persona, which like for the story, I think you might get interested in depending
Mhm.
on which like version of the game it is. But what's important to note is that for the most part, you're you're either like a pale foreigner or pale like you're just, for lack of better words, you're just like a pale
Okay.
cishet white dude. You're not necessarily like white in terms of like actual ethnicity, but like it's always like this creamy skinned kid who is clearly like the strong silent type with like shaggy hair, and it's either like brown or black depending on which game it is. Glasses are interchangeable, but like you don't really get to like you get to make their choices. You get to like make romance options for them and like options on like who they're friends with and who
Mhm.
they hang out with and stuff like that. But like you don't get to pick that character, so it just feels like you're
Mhm.
just stringing a puppet along. As opposed to like there are other games where like you get to make the character look like you or not look like you or look
Mhm.
like what you want to look like or look like who you like really
Mhm.
feel inside and that kind of stuff, and you get to connect with that character when shit goes down because you're like Mass Effect as an example is a massive
Mhm.
space opera game, and the only thing that they tell you is like, all right, you can be male presenting, you can be female presenting, but the only rule is that your name is Shepard, and that's just for like tracking purposes because there's voice
Mhm.
acting, which makes sense. Like, they're not going to like have these actors record like 3 billion lines to say every possible name that, could throw up. So they're going to be like, you can make your first name whatever you want it to be, but the last name is Shepard. So that when you run into like some alien, they can go,
Yeah.
Shepard,
Right.
nice to see you again. Like something, something like that. But like, you can make them look like whatever you want. You can change their skin color, like blah, 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 blah. But like, to me, there's too many games out there that are just like, nope, this is what you are. And it's usually like some
Mm-hmm.
sort of like white dude.
Always a white dude.
and I just games that like I think that's what has kind of in a weird way it's disillusioned me from video games. So certain video games is that like I really only kind of want to play games that either the main character is compelling, where I would be like, well, I don't mind stepping into this person's shoes, or like one that will allow
Mm-hmm.
me to create
Mm-hmm.
my character as I see fit. So I think that's where like, you know, a lot of sports games, because I can create a baseball player and be like, I want to play third base. I want him to look like this, and this is what his
Mm-hmm.
name is. And they go, cool, here you go. You know, but like there are certain games where
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you don't get that option. And to me, like as far as I'm aware, like going back to the Persona example, there hasn't really been like a main game like that where you can play as like a female protagonist or anything. Because your boy, if I'm given the option, will play as a female protagonist in pretty much everything but Pokemon. I
Hmm.
don't know why, but like when I played
Huh.
Mass Effect, always a woman,
Yeah, I
always.
mean, I think like that's being able to create your own character, I think is really cool and really important. And like even for like those really simple Wii games where you create your, you know, me or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to look like you if you want, or so I think
Yes.
that's really cool and it makes you feel a little more like, I don't know, a part of it or ownership or something. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just another, yeah.
Also, Nintendo, why the fuck haven't you made a new
Right?
Wii Sports game for this for the Switch? Because I would buy that immediately. Sorry, go
Um,
on.
yeah, but like, even in like Rock Band, which is, or like Guitar Hero or whatever, like some of my favorite more recent games, not that recent at this point, but Wii games and stuff like that. I I like being able to like have a choice at least, because yeah, it just, I don't want to play as a white dude unless I'm Mario. I'm totally on board with being Mario or Luigi because they're the
Yeah, that's
bomb.
fine. Very much so. Very much so. And just to correct an earlier statement, I have beaten almost every
Nice.
Pokemon game that I've put my hands on. I said earlier that I hadn't, but like I think like any of the non-main derivative games, like Pokemon, like Rescue, Mystery Dungeon, or any of that kind of stuff, like I haven't really played those. But like if it's a mainline Pokemon game, I have played it and beat it, including Pokemon Sword, which came out
Dang.
late last
Nice job.
year. Um, but hey, thanks. I'm bragging like I'm some sort of king shit of fuck mountain for no reason. They're just like, all right, nerd, calm it down.
Hey
Pokemon
man,
isn't
I've
hard.
never beaten any kind of
But
game,
like,
so um except except
I am.
Beatles Rock Band. That is the only
Mhm.
game, and that I had a lot of help on. And beating a game like that just
Mhm.
means that you played all the way
Um,
through, like that you played every song.
yeah, but some of those
True,
songs are
it's true.
flipping hard, man. Like, um, are you aware of the mythical "Through the Fire and
I don't
Flames"
think
in
so.
Guitar Hero? Okay, so there's a band called Dragon
Okay.
Force, I believe is the name of the band, and they have a song called "Through the Fire and Flames," which became popular because not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of people that were fans of Dragon Force and fans of the song like before, so. But like, I want to say it was in
Okay.
Guitar Hero like 2 or 3. It is so fucking hard, even on
Hmm.
like medium difficulty. Like my claim to fame in college was that I could get through it on
Dang.
medium. Like go like when you get a chance, just type in "Through the Fire
Mm-hmm.
and Flames" expert Guitar Hero and watch somebody just
Uh-huh.
fucking just destroy that song. Cause it's so, like I'm not joking. If you were not prepared, you could fail
Yeah,
that
I
song in the first three
for
seconds.
sure could. I could never get
Mm-hmm.
past medium on Guitar Hero or Rock Band, because at least playing the guitar, because I can't get my pinky to like get that fifth key. I just cannot do it at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Um,
Um, but I
Yeah, it's real fucking hard.
okay.
By the way, it's Guitar Hero 3, I believe.
But
But sorry, just correcting
my
myself.
claim to fame when I was playing those games like quite frequently was that I could sing on expert and play guitar at the same time.
That is some
Yep.
big,
I mean, it was
big
certain
talent.
songs. Because it had to be a song that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like, because I'm watching the guitar part, right? So I'm not watching the words. So it had to be a song I knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely did that quite a bit. I don't know if I could do that now, but I guess we'll find out. I'm supposed to have a rock band birthday party next week, so
That's kind
yeah.
of just our bit on video games. If you were interested in telling us about some of the video games you grew up with, if there are some that we didn't like touch on that you were just like, hey, idiots, I know you played this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about it. You know where to find us. It's ASWAYDPOD on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter, like a friend and fan of the show, our friend Amber, then you can email us
I
ASWAYDPOD
think it's
at
just
gmail.com.
ASWAYD at
And
Gmail.
share. You're probably right. You're probably right. I'm
Right.
just adding it on there just for safety reasons. But yeah,
Yep.
ASWAYD at gmail.com. Tell us all about it. Email us. You
Mm-hmm.
have no excuse now because you
Yep.
can directly contact us. But now it is time for my favorite moment of the week. It
Oh
is
my god.
Amelia, what the fuck is
Yes. I'm
this?
very excited.
So, if you are not familiar with this particular segment on Amelia and Sherrick, what are you doing? I find something wild as hell on the internet. I put it in Amelia's face and I ask her,
Okay.
Amelia,
I'm
the
ready.
fuck is this? Go ahead and clicky clicky. This is care of my good friend Barry.
What the fuck?
Would you like to explain to the people what you were looking at right now?
I've seen this picture, but not the words of it. Okay, so on one side, on the left side of the picture, is a painting. It's the painting of a brick wall at a skate rink, apparently called Skate Country. And it's just like the torso up of Superman, and his hands look like he's holding the water fountain that's coming out of the wall right there. So when you bend down to use the water fountain, it looks like you are blowing him. And then on the right side, it appears that this mural has been redone. So now Superman is flying at you above the water fountain so that it no longer looks like you are performing some oral on him. And it says RIP Skate Country Superman Fellatio Fountain 2017 to 2017. My guess is that somebody posted this photo online and pointed it out and went viral, and Skate Country was like, oh fuck, and so they fixed it pretty quickly. But this picture will live on the internet because that is what the internet is for.
Yes. So I love the attention to detail in that, like in the left image, they obviously painted it to look like it goes further into the wall so that Superman could
Right.
literally
It's
be
really
holding up the
good.
water fountain for you. But they didn't want to. But they didn't want to lose that particular part of the painting, so they painted it to look like as Superman is flying at you, he is holding up two chains that are
Oh
keeping the water
yeah, I didn't
fountain
notice that at
up.
first. Ugh, classy.
I can't tell. Yeah, I can't tell if they did it in such a way that like the chains are like real and they go into the wall and like just like merge into the painting, or if they're just like
I
part
think
of
they're just
the,
part of the painting.
whatever. But like I was just like, yeah, it could very
Yeah.
well be. But it was just I was just like, they were just like, well, we want to fucking fix this, but we can't lose the aesthetic that like Superman is like specifically holding up this water fountain.
Because otherwise, why the fuck do we have Superman on the wall above the water fountain? Oh my god, so good.
So great. And that, my friends and the lovely peoples, was Amelia, the fuck is this? Which is, I'm cutting out the what the fuck is this, but it's there. You should know about it. So I think that's the episode for this week. By the time that you were listening to this, we will be probably having some sorts of shenanigans up together for the first time in 2020. We'll be either playing some sort of rock band or Pokemon or something like that. And I can guarantee you 3,000,000% I will be eating some motherfucking Raisin Canes because we do not have it here. And she has it where
it's
she
now
lives.
available through DoorDash, so we could get it delivered. Yep.
My God. You said the most beautiful sentence in the world to me just now.
Because I hate leaving my house, as evidenced by my story earlier. And B, the Raisin Canes are not that close. Though I think more have opened. So maybe there are closer ones now, but they're not super close to my house. So
hey.
Well,
it's still closer than the hour and change, like 3-hour round trip it would take me to get some goddamn chicken.
As I've already pointed out, I'm pretty lazy, so even just driving to Minneapolis to get you fast food is like, I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't. Now, let's be clear. I would not ask you to do it for me. I would definitely go and get it, but I get the idea. But yeah, so you can find Amelia at Shake Meets World in all the places that are relevant, like I believe Instagram and Twitter, correct? You can find me at A Black Sparrow, Instagram, Twitter. I believe I have I don't believe I have a Twitch channel as well that also follows that. You can also find me at SherrickRobinson.com if you want to hire me for some stuff. I'm real excited because we are starting to get, I want to say maybe about 2 months away from me being able to talk about the thing that I did a couple of months ago that I couldn't talk about. So, but yeah, and of course you can follow the podcast at ASWAYDPOD on Twitter. Maybe eventually we'll do an Instagram, but I don't really. Maybe we will. Maybe the Instagram could just be the Amelia what the fuck is this pictures.
But yeah, we'll think of review us, share us. Find us on Apple and all those places.
Apparently, we need to look into getting on Stitcher. I've heard a couple of people be like, "I use Stitcher." And
it was on the list to get
we'll look into it for you.
Put on, but from what I can tell, it's never been put on there, and I think you have to manually do it. So, Anchor, you lied to us.
We love you. You've made our jobs mostly easy. And by jobs, I mean our hobby, but like, can you please do that? Because that'd be super cool. But yeah, what else was, and I mean, give us a review would be super cool, but like, if you could just tell your friends or your family or your loved ones, like, hey, you might think these two are pretty cool to listen to or fun to listen to, that'd be like, honestly, one of the coolest things that you could possibly do. We'd really, really appreciate you just like, spreading it by word of mouth, just like saying, hey, give this a shot. Because I've seen people be like, I'm going to be going on a road trip. And I've just been like, hey, you like reality dating shows. This is specifically the episode where we talked about that.
Yes, like, exactly. Especially if you know that they like the topic.
And let us know what you want us to talk about. Like if you want to hear more about like whatever we've talked about in the past, like I'm sure we will do a follow-up episode. I know we for sure are going to plan to do a follow-up episode with like the Love is Blind and like maybe, cover some other reality dating shows we may have forgotten in that period. But I know that like someone I saw, and it was like the coolest freaking thing I've seen in like a million years. Someone specifically was like, can I expect a follow-up on this? And I could not say, you can't like fast enough. I was like, you said you wanted more of this. I will give it to you.
That was the best. So. And it was somebody that we didn't really know. So it was a friend of a friend.
Yes.
So that was awesome.
Also that's very important.
To know that somebody who doesn't really know us was excited about that episode and wanted a follow-up. So yes. We love it, and there will be at some point. So yeah. But yeah, with that, I've been Amelia.
I've been Sherrick, and hey, if you step in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you probably shouldn't put
unless your feet are really clean.
I don't know if it was on the ground or like think of the logistics of that. Like if it was on the ground, that'd be gross. But like if you stepped on it, then chances are it was on a plate, which was clean. But then why are your feet up on? Anyway.
Bye.
Check you next week. Bye.